Runners, you've strengthened your hips, you've watched the YouTube foam rolling tutorials, you know how to strike properly with your foot, and yet you're still getting injured. Everyone talks about strength training, but not enough people are talking about this. My little sister and I ran a marathon about 1.5 years ago, and for the first 6 months after the marathon, she had to take a break completely from running because she had sustained an injury during the build-up to the marathon that was very much exacerbated by the marathon itself. I saw her a few months ago, a full year after that marathon, and she told me, I started to run again, things were getting better, but I just re-injured myself and I have no idea why. How many of you have had that exact same experience? You get a big injury, you take some time off, you start to ramp things back up, and then all of a sudden the injury's back, it's worse, and you feel like I'm never gonna be able to run again. And it is one of the most discouraging and disheartening feelings you can ever have as a runner. I have experienced the same thing with knee injuries, with lower back injuries. The good news, you don't have to be limited by that injury. Today, I'm gonna show you how. As I was talking to my little sister, I grabbed her Garmin app and pulled up her monthly mileage for the year. January through June, her monthly mileage was 0 because she was taking time off after the injury. Then in July, she started trying to run again, and she successfully ran 10 miles. So in August, she ran 25 miles. The 25 miles in August went so well that in September, she ran 55 miles. And in that third week of September, when she was really starting to hit her stride, that pain started to come back. And she decided to back things off and see if she could mitigate it by running 25 miles in October. This actually was the worst month of pain for her. So in November, she ran 0 miles, and in December, she ran 0 miles as well. I don't think anyone has a harder time recovering from injuries than people who have accomplished very impressive endurance feats. If you've run a marathon, if you've done an Ironman, then your expectations for what your body is capable of is so high. When I asked my little sister what the hell she was thinking with progressing her mileage from 0 to 10 to 25 to 55, her response was, well, that's just kind of how long my runs have always been. My long runs are at least 10 miles. My easy runs are at least 4 miles. I would never run less than 4 miles. And you might not think those exact same metrics, but you probably have some internalized rules that you hold on to as to what counts as running. 90% of running injuries can come down to 3 twos. Too much, too fast, too soon. It is easy to look back on this graph and say, why would you do that? Why would you increase mileage that fast? But when you're in the moment, when your body's feeling good for the first time in God knows how long, it is so intoxicating. It is so hard to hold yourself back. And the problem is that pain is a lagging measure. She didn't have pain when she started running 10 miles in a month. She didn't have pain when she bumped it to 25. Hell, she didn't even have pain for the first half of this month where she was running 55 miles. But in all of this ramp up, she was exposing her body, exposing her connective tissue to loads that her body was not prepared to handle. So what do? How do you avoid falling into this trap? I'm gonna show you how to avoid re-injuring yourself in 4 easy steps. Step 1, measure your training load. Measuring your training load doesn't just mean looking at your weekly Strava mileage. This means actually engaging with what that training load is. So if you have a watch like a Coros or a Garmin or a Santos, it's gonna be measuring your training load for you. If you wanna have a little bit more autonomy in measuring your training load, you multiply mileage times intensity. So if the intensity is a 4 out of 10 and the mileage is 4 miles, that would be 16 training load. If the intensity was 8 out of 10 and it was 6 miles, that would be a 48 training load. If you're not measuring your training load, then you can't understand until you're looking backwards all the mistakes you're making. Step 2 is measure pain. Most people wait to adjust their training load until their pain has reached a level that is already really hard to recover from. So what we want to do is we want to start measuring our pain and paying attention to if we are trending in the wrong direction or in the right direction. The way I would measure pain depends on the athlete's injury. So let's use plantar fasciitis as an easy example. It's something that a lot of runners struggle with. One really key indicator of plantar fasciitis is something called first step pain. That first step you take in the morning is often the most painful thing you'll do all day if you're struggling with plantar fasciitis. So you can measure 1 to 10, how bad is that first step pain the morning after a run. Let's say your weekly training load is 100, a completely made up number, and your pain in the plantar fasciitis is a 4 out of 10. The next week you stay at 100 for your training load and your weekly pain is a 5 out of 10. That means your body is not capable of handling 100 training load. No matter how small that is compared to where you may have been in the past, your body currently can't handle that training load. So maybe you need to back it off to 50 or to 80. So the next week, let's say you do 50 training load and the pain goes back to a 4 out of 10. The next week you do 50 again and now the pain is a 3 out of 10. Good news, you're trending in the right direction. Let's jump to a 75 training load. Now, the pain might stay at 3 out of 10 for the next week, and then the following week, it might be a 2 out of 10. Okay, our body is handling 75 training load. The following week, you can bump to 100. So as long as you're measuring your training load and measuring your pain, you're going to be able to understand the impact your training load is having on your injury. If you don't understand that relationship between training load and injury recovery, you are never going to ever break free of the injury cycle. Because in order to get to the point where you are handling massive amounts of training load again, you have to progress at the rate that your body can tolerate. There is no bad amount of training load. There are people out there crushing 100+ weeks, week after week after week. And it's not because their bodies are different than yours, it's because the rate of progression that they used to accumulate that training load was the rate of progression their body needed. And unfortunately, your body might have a different rate of progression. Their body may have been able to handle huge jumps in training load, but your body might have to handle smaller jumps in training load. It doesn't mean you can never get there. It just means that the path to getting there might be a little bit slower. Step 3, strength train your weaknesses. It is a crucial part of your long-term recovery plan. It might not be the thing that makes next week's run feel better, but if you are strength training your calves and making sure you're really hitting that soleus and training it close to failure, then 6 months, 8 months from now, that's going to have a very positive impact on your plantar fasciitis. These first 2 steps are going to help you get out of pain and get back to running confidently very quickly. This 3rd step is more about creating resiliency in your body so that long term you're less likely to re-aggravate that injury, and long term you're strengthening some of those muscles that might not have been firing enough to help you avoid the injury in the first place. Step 4 might be the most important step of all of them, which is change one variable at a time. If you are constantly changing multiple things at the same time, if you're changing your footwear, if you're changing your intensity, if you're changing where you run, if you're changing on what surface you run, if you're changing how often you strength train, how often you run, the distance you run, the amount you play pickleball on the weekends, if you are changing more than one variable, you are going to be in trouble. And I know this is frustrating. You want to feel freedom. You want to be able to just go out and do whatever you want when you want it. But the reality is you also want to be an injury-free runner. And there might be a period of time where you have to say no to some stuff, where you have to make some sacrifices in order to only change one variable at a time. Maybe you can't go on the weekend run club that you just randomly saw on Instagram and crush 7 miles at your half marathon tempo because everybody else is doing it, and damn, it feels fun. It sucks. I'm not going to stand here and tell you that you are not going to have to make sacrifices in order to get back to running confidently and without pain. If you value your long-term progress, this is a small price to pay. A lot of injuries is just being a little bit more mindful about the impact the intensity you are applying to your body is going to have, and recognizing that when you are coming back from a break from running, which is often what happens when you are injured, you are going to have to be more thoughtful about the way you structure your training, about the way you handle training load. If you don't want to think about that, if that just sounds like too much and you just can't imagine doing these steps on your own, these are the exact steps I use with my clients to help them get out of the injury cycle once and for all. There's a link in the description of this video where you can book a free call with me to discuss your running history, your running injuries, and help you understand how to implement these 4 steps into your life. If you want to get back to the runner who doesn't have to live in fear of their injury coming back, book a call and let's get you fixed.